Right, guys. Is Mohas here joining? No, does he have the link? Right, guys. Johan is joining. Johan, hi. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning, yes. Chamat, Chamat, not there. Right, so come to the forest, right? Forests and forestry in Sri Lanka. Now, few of the MCQs and hopefully, yeah, part of the structured essay. So, shall we start? Right? So, listen. Forest and forestry in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a country with diverse climatic zones due to its geographical location, island status, internal topography, and the influence of monsoon and convective rains. Right. Therefore, there is a great diversity in the plant species and their distribution. So, in addition to the natural forests, there are also man-made forests. What is a forest is defined in various ways, like ecologically. A forest, I mean, now I'll give you the definition. Shall we write it down? Give me a second. Right, shall we write it? Right. So the forest defined by the Central Environmental Authority, right? So write it down. Trees larger than 2.5 meters. First Central Environmental Authority. Trees larger than 2.5 meters. A canopy covered 30 more than 30% and a land greater than 0.5 hectares. 0.5 hectares. is known as a forest. Is known as a forest. A key features ටික තියෙනවා නේද? Trees larger than 2.5 meters, and the canopy cover should be more than 30%, and the area should be 0.5 hectares. Right? Right. So, however, the most widely accepted definition is that proposed by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Accordingly, right, and their definition, land greater than 0.5 hectares land greater than 0.5 hectares, trees taller than 5 meters, trees taller than 5 meters, canopy more than 10%, or with the plants that can reach above requirements in a certain period of time. is known as a forest. Is known as a forest. एक क्या key features मत कर दिया गया MCQ से मान key features वलिන් අහනවා. Right. So this does not include agricultural or urban lands. Urban lands sorry, agricultural lands sorry, අයිති වෙන්නේ. According to the definition of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, features ටික කතා කරන්නේ. So rubber forest, does not come under the forests. Rubber forest does not come under the forest. Palm tree forests. Palm tea forests. Palm tea. Yeah, second. Palm tree. Palm tree is palm oil making trees. Palm tree forest. Does not come under the forests. Home gardens. Home gardens. Home gardens. So land එක කොච්චරක් දානවා 0.5 නේ තිබ්බ hectares. 0.5 hectares. Home gardens does not come under the forests. especially in shallow lakes. Then the Patana, fourth one. And the third one එක ලීලි ඉවර කරන්නේ. I know only. ඇති. තුනයි තියෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් ඇති. හරි. Fourth one එකේ බලන්න. Furthermore, the unique ecosystems of Sri Lanka, such as grasslands, willows, deciduous forests and salt marshes are not considered forests because the canopy cover is less than 10%. හරි. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ canopy cover එක මදි. So 4 main factors have influenced the current pattern of forest distribution in Sri Lanka. What are the main factors? Agricultural works. Weather conditions. Population distribution. Population distribution. Are the climatic factors තියෙනවනේ? ඔව්. එහෙනම් ලියන්න population distribution එක කියලා. Population distribution. Agricultural works, population distribution, climatic factors, not the weather conditions, then geographical factors. Right. Right. Come to the natural forest. Right. A natural forest is a terrestrial ecosystem that provides habitat for many species of plants. These have evolved over the time and become magnificent, and in which the components of those forests have evolved over the time. This equilibrium, write it down, equilibrium of components, equilibrium of components in natural forests, natural forests are sometimes subjected to sudden environmental impacts such as wildfire, human activities, likewise, right? Then there are significant changes in those forests based on such impacts on natural forests. They are classified into primary forest and secondary forest, right? So in like a primary forest, like none of the like the natural or man-made disasters weren't happen, because they were like there for million years and they've been growing for million years without any of the disasters. So there's like a huge diversity there in a primary forest, right? So in a primary forest, the main thing is you can see the canopy layers. Canopy layers are there. So like many of the other, the normal forests, they don't have these canopy layers. So if there's a canopy layer in any of the forests, that means it's been මෙහෙම උඩම තියෙන උසම ගස් layers wise තියෙන ගස් canopies හතරක් තියෙනවානේ. ඒ කියන්නේ canopy layers හතරක් තියෙනවා. ඒ හතරෙන් තමයි යන්නේ. ඒ වගේ canopy layers තියෙනවා නම් that means they've never been harmed for like million of the years, either naturally or by any of the humans or the natural things. So that means like they've been adapted for that system and having the highest diversity that can be that can possibly have. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ හැදිලා තින්නේ අර sunlight එක යාට ලස්සනට එන විදියට තමයි layers හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒතර හැම ගහකටම sunlight එක හම්බ වෙනවා. හැබැයි like let's say like a newly grown forest somewhere, they don't have these canopy layers. So like majority of the plants living there having troubles to for the food and for the sunlight and everything. But these like the primary forest been evolved for many years, maybe like million to billion years, and they have like constructed a level of diversity that every and each plant can live, every and each animal can live. So that's something happens very rarely, that they don't get disturbed for many years. So a primary forest is something very valuable, you know. So there's only one forest like that in Sri Lanka, and for the world, that's Singaraja. And like not the whole Singaraja, like a part of the Singaraja is a primary jungle, right? So we went where Kanneliya. Is it a primary forest? No, it's secondary, because what has happened there? Yeah, agricultural, and they have like the timber falling is there, right? They have cut the timbers, like the trees for the timber production, right? So that means like the people have involved into it. So the structures has changed, like the tallest trees they are cutting for the first, right? So like almost the natural structure is changed now. So it comes under the secondary forest. Like only forest that is there hasn't changed for a long time is Singaraja, right? So all the others have changed, right? So the primary forest. So what is a primary forest here? Right. Shall we write it? Hasn't faced any of the natural disasters or human intervenes any of the natural disasters or human intervenes for a long time. Right. In the secondary forest, now can you correct this as forest, secondary forest, not secondary weather, it's secondary forest. In a secondary forest, right, forests that have been affected by natural disasters such as wildfire or have been subject to human interventions and are being regenerated, right? So secondary forest කියලා කියන්නේ එක්ක natural disaster එකකින් හරි either a natural disaster or human intervention එකකින් ඒක change වෙලා තියෙන එක. හරි. Right. Second one, biodiversity is relatively high. Should be in a primary forest, the biodiversity is very high. But in a secondary forest, the biodiversity is relatively low. Third one, plants of different ages are found. Like different ages of plants are found. But in the secondary forest, plants of the same age are often found. Why? Because it's been destroyed at once. So the plants that grow will grow at once. Like how do you call these invasive plants? The invasive plants will start to grow first, right? The invasive plants will start to grow first. So the majority of these invasive plants have the same age, right? That's what happens there, right? Fourth one, the characteristics of forests related to climatic conditions are well demonstrated, and in the secondary forest, the plants that grow in harsh environment and propagates rapidly are commonly found. අර ගොඩක් කාට ඔය thorny bushes ඒ වගේ වනේ හැදෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ මේවා මොනවාද? what do you say that? අර මෙහෙම කැරකිලා තියෙන්නේ මොනවාද? ferns වගේ ඊට පස්සේ bushes වගේ ඒවා තමයි මුලින් හැදෙන්නේ. trees හැදෙන්නේ නේ හරි many of these can be identified as endemic plants සාමාන්‍යයෙන් primary ඒවා තියෙනවා ගොඩක් endemic plants තමයි තියෙන්නේ. ඒකෙන්ද ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ගොඩක් අර value එක වැඩි. නේ timber value එක නේ මේ කියන්නේ අර ඒගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් කල් එහෙම ඉන්න හින්දා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ biological value එක ගොඩක් වැඩි. Right. For example, the central zone of the Singaraja. Highlight the central zone of the Singaraja, not the whole one. The central zone. The central zone of the Singaraja forest consists of mostly of exotic and endemic plants. Right. The other part. For example, many dry mixed evergreen forests exhibit characteristics of secondary forests because they have been subject to fires or have been inhabited for a time by humans, right? Now the evergreen forests, they're like almost all the other forests in Sri Lanka are like the secondary forests because it's been interrupted by the humans, right? Only primary forest that we have is the central part of the Singaraja, that's all, right? So this is somewhere the central part of the Singaraja and this is a secondary forest that's been growing now. Do you see the plants and the bushes are everywhere? Like the thorny ones are there. So that's how it grows, right? The composition of a natural forest is affected by environmental factors such as rainfalls, temperature, altitude, salinity, soil conditions and wind. And the nature of the forest also changes depending on these influences, right? So accordingly, there are many natural forest types found in Sri Lanka, some of which will be described in this chapter, right? Right. So write down the first one. What? Tropical moist evergreen forests. Tropical moist evergreen forests. And the second one, tropical montane and submontane forest. Tropical montane and submontane forests. Then the third one, tropical dry mixed evergreen forests. Tropical dry mixed evergreen forests. Right. 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 And thorny bushes and thicket scrubs and savanna forests and mangroves are there, right? In addition to these, Sri Lanka also has unique natural ecosystems that are not considered forests. Example of these includes grasslands, wetlands, marshes and swamps, right, are also there. Tropical moist evergreen forests, come to this topic, right. These forests are spread over an area of land from sea level to 900 meters in the southwestern part of Sri Lanka. Highlight the sea level. It's from like 900 meters above the sea level, right. They are not large forests located together but are scattered and separate. The use of land for plantation and the construction of human settlements may have caused this dispersion. However, they are spread over 11,127 hectares. Similarly, the three forests, what are the three forests? Map it 33 forest. Write down Kanneliya, so, Dediyagala, Kanneliya, Dediyagala. Where the hell is Kanneliya? Then Nakia Deniya. Nakia Deniya. Are like three of the separated forest, and they are all like tropical moist evergreen forest, right? And they comes under the secondary forest, not the primary forest, right? So are spread over 6,144 hectares. There is also a rainfall of, write down the rainfall, 2,500 to 5,000 millimeters. 2,500 to 2,500 to 5,000 millimeters, right? 5,000 millimeters, right? Throughout the year, the relative humidity, right? 75% to 90%. Relative humidity is 75% to 90%. And the average temperature 27 degrees of Celsius. 27 degrees of Celsius. 27 degrees of Celsius. In the areas where these forests are located. Canopy is very clear. The top of the tall trees, 30 to 45 meters. 30 to 45 meters. Here is the highest one. Overlap at a height of the top of the tall trees.
25 to 45 overlap at a height of 45 to make canopy.
No. Canopy is here, the top of the tall trees. एक මේ කයින් කරන්න පුතේ ඒක නෑ. ඒක අනවශ්‍යයක් වෙట్లా තියෙයි. The top of the tall trees overlap at a height of අපි කියපු height එක මොකද්ද? 45 to 30 to 45 meters to make emergent layer. What do you call emergent layer? Emergent layer is the layer which has the highest trees. Emergent layer, right? To make the emergent layer. Right. Come to the next one. Among the common plants in the emergent layer that we discussed previously, like emergent layer, are Chaetocarpus, Castanocarpus, Mysterica, Dactyloides, Misua ferreira, sort of plants are there, right? Tamanan plants වලින් ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. But there were some provincial paper questions that they given the plant species as well for the specific forest. Through these canopy trees of trees of above 45 to 50 meters tall emerge in places and are known as the emergent layer. Emergent layer. The dominant plants in the emergent layer are emergent නෙමෙයි ඒක ශාකසරි මේකේ මේ note එක පොත් එක පොඩ්ඩක් අවුල් තියෙන්නේ. And in the areas where these forests are located, canopy is very clear. The top of the tall trees overlap at a height of මේ කියන්නේ canopy layer කියන එක. To make canopy layer. අර
canopy under canopy sub.
ඔව් එහෙම යන්නේ. එතකොට මේකේ මේ අපි කතා කරේ 35 to මුල් ටික එන්නේ
30 to 45.
30 to 45 වෙන්නේ මේකේ තියෙන වියන් ස්තරය. වියන් ස්තරය කියන්නේ canopy layer. Just the canopy layer. ඔව් මේක canopy කරා නම් හරි. ඒක canopy layer. ඒ ටිකේ හරි. Among the common canopy layers, මෙතන ඉන්නේ emergent layer එක තමයි. Places are trees about 45 to 50 meters tall, emerging places, and are known as the emergent layer. The dominant plants in the emergent layer are ඒ ටික හරි.
Emergent.
ඔව් මේක emergent. ඒක හරි. එතන හරි. ඒ ටික අපි කැපුවද නැන්නේ? ඒ ටික emergent layer. Right. So ඊට පස්සේ මේක දෙන්නේ below the canopy layer is a sub canopy. Canopy layer එකට යටින් තියෙන sub canopy එක. Layer consisting of trees about 15 to 20 meters tall. In this layer, Culenia rosaurona, Mysterica dactyloides, Dillenia retusa, Semicarpus nigroviridis, now sort of, you know the scientific names are there, right? An understory and shrub layer can also be seen below this subcanopy layer. Subcanopy layer එකට යටින් තියෙනව මොනවාද? Understory එකකුයි shrub layer එකකුයි. Understory එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ අර පල්ලෙහා තියෙන ගස්. වලට කියන අපි understory කියන්නේ ගොඩකට පඳුරු වගේ. ඒ shrub මේ understory එකට යටින් තමයි shrubs තියෙන්නේ පඳුරු වගේ ඒවා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක තමයි යටම layer එක. Can also be seen below this subcanopy layer, right? එතකොට මෙන්න මේ plants තියෙනවා in this layer and climbing plants such as this and are also common. හරි මෙන්න මේ plants දකින්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට layers තියෙන ඇත්තටම emergent layer එක තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ canopy එක තියෙනවා, sub canopy එක තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි understory එක තියෙන්නේ. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි bushes. shrub area එක තියෙන්නේ ඊට පස්සේ. හරි. So due to this stratification, very little light reaches the ground level. Therefore, plants are not common in the ground layer. Ground layer එකේ ගොඩක් කාට plants නැහැ. ඇයි එළිය වැටෙන්නේ? However, in the empty spaces left by the death and fall of large old trees, non-living plants and ferns can be seen growing in the ground layer, a layer of organic matter containing decaying plant parts on the ground can be seen. හරි ඒක හැමතිස්සෙම තියෙනවා. අපි ඒක කතා කරා මතකද? මේ යනකොට දැක්ක මතකද අර සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඒ යට layer එකක් හැමතිස්සෙම තියෙනවා දිරන්නේ නැතුව. ඒකේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අර decaying plant and animal bodies තමයි තියෙන. animal bodies ඉතින් ගොඩක් නැහැ. කොහොම plant bodies තමයි මේ leaves වගේ ඒවා තමයි වැඩිපුර තියෙන්නේ. ඒක decay වෙන්නේ නැහැ. decay වෙවි තියෙන්නේ කාලයක් තිස්සේ. resin decay වෙන්නේ නැහැ. The leaves of the plant species in these forests are broad and many of them have leaf tips. මෙන්න මේ leaf tip එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ තියෙන අර හැමතිස්සෙම වහිනවනේ. tip එක දිගේ විතර වතුර ටක් ගාලා අයින් වෙලා යනවා. These tips help to quickly drain the water that falls on the leaves. To prevent many tall trees from falling over, taproots are found at their base. Base එකේ taproots තියෙනවා මෙන්න මේ තියෙන්නේ. ඒවෙන් තමයි plant එක අල්ලන් ඉන්නේ. Climbing plants on the trunks, epiphytes. Epiphytes කියන්නේ මොනවද? Epiphytes කියන්නේ අර ගස් උඩ හැදෙන්නේ. ගස් ගහ උඩ තමයි ඒක හැදෙන්නේ. අර not like the, you know, there are like මේ two types නේ. ඒකේ two types ඉන්නවා. One is like අර කස්කුටයිස් one of the type. ඒගොල්ලෝ කරන්නේ ගෙලින්ම plant එකට මේ plant එකේ තියෙන nutrient ඔක්කොම absorb කරලා ගන්නවා. හැබැයි epiphytes කියන අය එහෙම plant nutrients absorb කරන්නේ නැහැ. They are going up to take the sunlight. ඒ අපි සාමාන්‍ය ගස් උඩ හැදෙන්නේ නිකන් අර පොඩි පඳුරක් වගේ අපි ඒවට කියන epiphytes කියලා. epiphytes තියෙනවා සාමාන්‍ය. හරි. මේකේ පේන්නේ epiphytes. epiphytes එක සර්ච් කරලා බලන්න epiphytes කියවන් පස්සේ තියෙන ඔය ගස් උඩ හැදෙන මේ අපි ඒවට කියනවා සිංහලෙන් කියනවා අපිශාක කියලා. අපිශාක කියන්නේ ඒවට. හරි. Right. To prevent many tall trees from falling over, ඒකට approach වෙන epiphytes are there are common. The biodiversity of these forests is very high. Some forest areas remain as primary forest. සමහර ඒවා primary forest විදිහට තියෙනවා. canopy layers ඔක්කොම පෙන්නනවා ඒ විදිහට තියෙනවා. Also about 60% to 75% of the plants in them are endemic to Sri Lanka. කියන්නේ endemic plants ගොඩක් තියෙනවා. Most plants have symmetrical stems and they are fast growing stems. Symmetrical and fast growing stems තමයි වැඩිපුර තියෙන්නේ. The water content of these stems is high. ඇයි? Rainfall එක වැඩි නේ. ඒකින්ද water content එක plant trees මේ trunk එකේ තියෙන water content එක වැඩි. Due to this, their strength is relatively low and their wood value is also low. හරි. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ wood value එක ගොඩක් low. ඇයි? ඒගොල්ලෝ අර ගොඩක් high නෑ මේ එක කෝ එක. ඒ හින්දා ඒගොල්ලෝ පාවිච්චි කරන්න බෑ. wood එකක් විදිහට firewood එකක් විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරන්න අමාරුයි. ඒකින්ද ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඒ value එක නැහැ. Plants with fairly valuable strong stems are plants such as nadun and කළුමැදිරිය. වගේ ඒවා තමයි ටිකක් හරි value එකක් තියෙන අය විදිහට ඉන්නේ. හරිද? In the 1970s, timber was cut in part of the Singaraja and Karneliya forests and used for the production of thin planks. But today, timber cutting has stopped in those forests. හරි. ඉස්සර අපි අර කතා කරේ ගස් කපාගෙන අර අපි ඇවිදන් ගිය පාරවල් තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ ගස් කපාගෙන අරගෙන ඉන්න හදපු පාරවල්. ඒකින්ද ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් secondary forest වලට convert වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Right. Come to the tropical montane and submontane forest. Submontane forest, right? These forests are spread over areas between 900 to 1500 above the sea level. ඒක ටිකක් උඩ ඉන්නේ. ඒක highlight කරන්න. අරගොල්ලන්ට වඩා ටිකක් උඩින් ඉන්නේ නේ. කලින් ආයේ ඉඳී above 900, දැන් මේගොල්ලෝ ඉන්නේ 900 to 1500 වගේ ඉන්නේ, right? So example of these forests are the knuckles, highlighted knuckles, then the Sripada, then the Namanukula area, and Rakwana and Deniyaya. And the forest above 900 meters in Singaraja as well. Singaraja 900 above තියෙනේවා මේ mountain forest වලට submountain forest වලට අයිති. The canopy of these forests is covered with trees of the Dipterocarpaceae, Cruciaceae and Myrtaceae families, which are about 20 meters to 25 meters high. Right. Example of plant found here include these species. Right, Mora, Malaboda sort of plants are there. And guava species like guava species, you know, about 50% of the plants here are endemic to Sri Lanka. Right, endemic plants are there. Then come to the mountain forests. Right, mountain forests. These forests are located at an altitude more than 1500 meters, highlighted. These forests are located at an altitude of more than 1500 meters above the sea level. The families Cruciaceae, Myristaceae, Lauraceae, Symplocaceae and Rubiaceae are dominant in these forests. The annual rainfall is more than 1500 millimeters, highlighted. ඒ තියෙන ඇත්තන family names. ගස්වල නම් නෙමෙයි එපා. ඔන්න. ඒ තියෙන family names. ඒව පාඩම් කරන්න යන්න එපා. and the average temperature is about 15 degrees of Celsius. Highlight it as well. The canopy height is about 10 meters and the trunk are garnered and twisted. What is garnered and twisted? Oh, ඇඹරිලා වගේ තියෙන. කැරකිලා ඇඹරිලා තියෙන. Why is that?
Harsh conditions.
Because of the wind. Right. Wind එකකින් තමයි එහෙම වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Garnered and twisted. Highlight කරන්නේ. Trunks are garnered and twisted. The tree tops are flattened, the leaves are thin. ඒකත් highlight කරන්න. අයි මේ tree tops ඔක්කොම flat වෙලා මේ leaves thin වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒකයි අපි මේ wind එක එතකොට wind එකෙන් effect වෙනවා වැඩි මේ අර මේ cone shape එකකට තිබ්බොත්. And the leaves are thin for what? To reduce the transpiration. Right, to reduce the transpiration. Right. The stratification is not very clear. There is a canopy layer and a shrub layer with small plants. Highlight it. Canopy layer and a shrub layer is only there. So these plants are there, and thorny bamboo are found in the four shrubs in addition to epiphytes and lichens, orchids, etc. Right. Example of mountain forest include, highlighted, Haggala, Pidurangala, Horton Plain, Kikiliyamana and Meepilimana. The very high areas of mountain forests are called cloud forests. Highlight it. ඒවේ mountain forest වල උඩම තියෙන ඒවාට අපි කියනවා cloud forest කියලා. Cloud forest කියන්නේ ඔය සිරිපාදේ එහෙම යනකොට හම්බෙන්නේ අර මොකක්ද ඒකට කියන්නේ? ඒක නමකුත් කියන අර ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක පඩිපෙලේ නගින්න තියෙන්නේ අර අල්ලගෙන නගින්න තියෙන එක. ඊටත් උඩ අල්ලගෙන නගින්න තියෙන කැලලක් තියෙනවා. අන්න ඒ හරිය තියෙන්නේ. ඒ හරිය clouds ඇවිල්ලා වදිනවා ඇත්තට. ඒක ඔය නමක් වගේ ඔහම නමක් වගේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Right. So the temperature in these forest areas are very low. Fog is frequent. Lichen which absorb atmosphere, water, vapor and grow on the trunk and branches of the plants are common. සාමාන්‍ය lichens එහෙම තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒවා water vapor ගොඩක් absorb කරගන්නවා. The relative humidity in these areas is very high and is often saturated with water vapor. In a short time, small water droplets form on the stems, branches and leaves of the plants. හැමතිස්සෙම අර water droplets හැදෙනවා plant leaves වල trunks වල ඒ වගේ. These are absorbed by the moss in the branches and trunks of the trees. Right. ඒක අර moss කියලා තියෙන moss කියන්නේ මොනවද? අපි දියසෙවල කියලා කියන්නේ. දියසෙවල වලින් මොකද කරන්නේ? Absorb කරනවා. The water thus collected is gradually released into water resources. Right. Water thus collected is gradually released into water resources. That water feeds the rivers, streams and etc. එතකොට ඒ mountain වලින් plants වලින් trees වලින් absorb කරන water තමයි කෙලින්ම ඊට පස්සේ rivers වලට streams වලට feed කරන්නේ. ඒක නේද කවියක් එහෙම තියෙනව නේද? මාවැලි කැලණි කළු වලවේ යන ගංගා සමනවල කන්ද මුදුනේ සිට පැන නංගා කියලා එහෙම තියෙනවනේ. That is how it happens, right? So these mosses which absorb a lot of water even during the rainy season control floods by preventing water from being released into rivers and streams at once. Since the absorbed water is released slowly at later times, these cloud forests help areas like Nuwara to remain self-sufficient in water even during severe dry seasons, right? Nuwara වගේ පැති වල severe dry season එක වුණත් වතුර නැති වෙන්නේ නේ. Right. Come to the tropical dry mix evergreen forests, right? Covering about 16% of the total land area of Sri Lanka. These forests represent about 57% of the total forest area of Sri Lanka. The forests spread in the northeast, north, central and south province of Sri Lanka belonging to this type. The average temperature in this forest area is about 30 degrees of Celsius and the annual rainfall is about 1250 to 1900 millimeters. Highlight it. Rainfall is. Right. So this rainfall is also not uniformly distributed throughout the year. Most rainfall occurs during the period of November and January. Highlight it. So the rain occurs for the tropical dry mix evergreen forests in the May to September period. Sorry, November to January period. This influenced by the northeast monsoon. Northeast monsoon again තමයි rain එක හම්බෙන්නේ. The period from May to September is long dry season. The height of the plants found in these forests is about 25 meters. Highlight it. The height of the trees is like 25 meters. During the dry season, some plants shed their leaves. Since deciduous plants shed their leaves during the dry season, light falls on the forest floor at that time. When the rain starts again, leaves appear. Therefore, ground layer plants are common during the rainy season. අර ගොඩක් මේ leaves shred කරන අය ඉන්නවනේ rubber වගේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ එතකොට ඒ season එකේදී leaves shred කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒ හින්දා පල්ලෙහා level එකට හොඳට sunlight එක හම්බෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ rainy season එක ආවම පස්සේ මුලින්ම අර පල්ලෙහා layer එකේ ගස් ටිකක් හැදෙන්න ගන්නවා මුල් කාලෙදී. The leaves of most of the plants found in these forests are compound. The stem of the plants are well branched compared to the forest of the humid zone. අර අපි humid zone එකේ කතා කරේ ගොඩක් watery trunk තියෙන ඒවානේ. හැබැයි මේකේ තියෙන්නේ එහෙම නෑ හොඳ compound core එකක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. trunk එක ගොඩක් high යි. ඔව්. Right. There are fewer epiphytes and fewer taproots. Epiphytes and taproots අඩුයි. ඔව් සාමාන්‍ය එපිෆයිට්ස් වැඩිපුර හැදෙන්නේ වෙට් සෝන් එකේ තමයි. ඒකේ අර කියන්නේ ගස් ගොඩක් වැඩි වුණාම පස්සේ සන්ලයිට් ගන්න විදිහක් නැහැනේ. ඒතකොට තමයි එපිෆයිට්ස් හැදෙන්නේ ගස් උඩට ගිහිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලෝ හැදෙන්නේ. Right. Fewer taproots are also there. The bark of the tree is very rough. The knotted stem are very strong stem. What are the knotted stems? අර අපි කියන්නේ ගස් වල ගැට තියෙනයි කියලා. අර තියෙනවා. අර මෙහෙම කැරකිච්ච කැලලක් වගේ තියෙන බිනයක් වගේ. අන්න ඒ වගේ කැලල තියෙන. ඒකට කියන knot එකක් කියලා. ඒ knotted stem එක ගොඩක් high යි. And therefore their timber value is high. For example, the plants such as buruta, nadun, corn, etc. can be mentioned. The layering is not as clear as in the forest found in the wet zone. Layering කියන එක canopy layers clear නෑ. The plant diversity is also relatively low. ඒගොල්ලන්ට වඩා wet zone එකේ ඒවට වඩා relatively low තමයි diversity එක තියෙන්නේ. Example reticula forest highlighted. Reticula, සීගිරිය, පිදුරංගල forest. මේ පැත්තේ කැලෑ ඇත්තටම ලස්සනයි නේ. අමුතු කැලෑවල් තියෙන්නේ. මං ගිහලා තියෙන්නේ
වැටෙන්නේ මේ මයික්‍රෝබයොලොජි කියන එකට නැත්නම් වෙනම පාඩමද?
microbiology එකේ එක කොටස් categories. Right. සීගිරිය හබරන පැත්තේ එහෙම යන්න පුළුවන් අමාරු. අපි ඉස්සර ගියා ඔය මේ වලට මේ කටිනයක් එහෙම බාරගෙන තිබ්බා අපේ අක්කලා මේ හබරන මා ලස්සන. ඒ ගිහිල්ලා අපි මේ එකක් එහෙම මොනවාද කලුවර තියෙන්නේ. අපි ඉස්සර අර බොඩන් ජුවලරි කරන්නේ. ඒ සීන් එකට කලුවර එහෙම තහනම් කපන්න බෑනේ. ට්‍රාන්ස්පෝර්ට් කරන්නත් බෑ. අනික කිව්වොත් රෙකෝඩ් වෙනවා නේ. ඉඳවල. කැපුවේ නේ. හරිද? කපපු කොටයක් හම්බුණා. Thorny bushes එහෙම කපන්නේ නැහැ කොහොමද? Thorny bushes and thickets, right? The forest found in the Hambantota and Manna district of Sri Lanka belongs to this type. The annual rainfall in these forest area is less than 1250 50 millimeters. Significant rainfall occurs during the period of November and December. Right? There is a very long dry season. The average temperature in area between 30 to 35 degrees of Celsius is highlighted. Some of the cactus plants. So, ගොඩාක් ඒවා නෙමෙයි. Now, tall trees are rare and the most common are thorny plants that show arid characteristics. Myler and the other scientific names are there. Right. The exotic prickly pear cactus is there, can also be seen widespread in many places. Plant species there. ඔව් මැන්නා දිස්ත්‍රික් ඒ පැතිවල තියෙනවා කියන එක තමයි තියෙන්නේ. හම්බන්තොට මැන්නා ඒ පැත්තම තියෙන්නේ. එහෙම ගොඩක් අහලා තියෙනවා අඩි. හරි. Savannah forest. You go through the past paper questions. You will understand. Right. Savannah forest, right? These forests are located in the dry and intermediate zones of Sri Lanka between 300 to 1000 meters. Highlighted. Savannah forests are mostly found in the Uva basin of the eastern slope of the Central Highlands and in the Monaragala, Bibile and Galloy areas. The main reason for existence of savanna forests in Sri Lanka is the human activity of setting fires in the forest. කැලෑකින් තියලා එකකින් තමයි savanna හැදලා තියෙන්නේ. Savanna, have you seen the savannas? Have you seen the Madagascar cartoon or movie? මේකේ තියෙන savanna තමයි ඈ. මාත්පඩිය නම් මතක නැහැ කියලා තියෙනවා. So therefore, fire resistant plants such as Aralu Bulu Nelli, Gammalu, Kahata are widespread in these forests, right? මේවා තියෙනවා. Aralu Bulu Nelli, Gammalu are there, right? The ground layer is dominant. එහෙම නෑ. ඉතුරු වෙච්ච ඒවා ගිනි තිබ්බා.
Horton Plains එක mountain forest නේ.
ඔව්.
එතකොට මේ Horton Plains තුන වගේ ඉතින් තනිතලානේ.
නේ ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක ඉතින් මොකක් හරි ඒක නැචරල් වල තිබ්බ එකක්. දැන් මේක එහෙම නෙමෙයි. මේ කියන්නේ මේක ඉන්නේ ඔය මේවා හින්දා වයිල්ඩ් ෆයර්ස් හින්දා. ඔව්. එහෙම නැතුව අපි එකක් නෙමෙයි. Right? The ground layer is dominated by grass. ඒක highlight කරා. Savanna වල ground layer එකේ තියෙන grass. Ground layer is dominated by grass. Due to the presence of open forest and grasses, these forests are important as habitat for wild elephants and other wildlife, right? The people of the area obtain various non-timber forest products such as Aralu Bulu Nelli from the forest, right? Then the mangroves. So these forests are found in intertidal zone. Intertidal means intertidal zones. Intertidal can tides intertidal zone of coastal lagoons and estuaries. They are widely distributed in the areas of Jaffna, Batticaloa, Kalpitiya, Rakava, Manna and Trincomalee. The plant families Rhizoporaceae and Acanthaceae are dominant in the mangrove forest. These plants are adapted to the variability of water level and hot weather conditions. Due to the frequent flooding, soil air is also less, right? Soil air is also less. Therefore, many of these plants have roots adapted for both stability and absorption of atmospheric air, right? ඔය mangrove plants දන්නවනේ අර ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ අර air roots තියෙනවනේ. ඔව් tap roots එහෙම air roots එහෙම හැදලා තියෙනවා. So vivipary is an adaptation to seed germination. What is vivipary? No. Vivipary is like the coconut shells. අන්න හරි. ඒකට කියන vivipary කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ බීච් එකේ පාවි තියෙන අන්න ඒවට තමයි vivipary කියලා කියන්නේ. Vivipary adaptation to seed germination under adverse conditions. මොකක්ද vivipary කියන්නේ?
ස්ට්‍රෝබෙරි වලක් තියෙනවා. අ සීඩ් එකම ෆෘට් එකේ ග්‍රෝ වෙන්නේ කවුට් වෙන්නේ.
Read a definition. What does the definition say?
Phenomenon where seeds germinate before detaching from the parent plant.
ඒ කියන්නේ parent plant එකෙන් detach වෙන්න කලින්
මේ ස්ප්‍රවුට් වෙනවා.
yes. සමහර කර එහෙම වෙනවද පොල් වල? එහෙම වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
පොල් වෙන්නේ
I don't know. Like is there? Right.
Embryos develop before they detach from the parent.
Right. So and the bearing of taproot is an adaptation to unstable soil conditions, right? Then the forestry, right? So making the growing the plants in forests, the forestry. There are about 76,000 hectares of plantation forests in Sri Lanka that are not part of the natural forests described above. Forest plantations are forests that are artificially created by sowing seeds or planting saplings. The main purpose of forestry is timber production. Timber production එකට තමයි forestry කරන්නේ. But in addition, forestry is also cultivated for purposes such as firewood production, environmental conservation, biodiversity conservation and windbreaks. Windbreaks විදිහට හදන එක කියන්නේ අර සමහරකට සමහර පැතිවල හයියෙන් හුලං එනවනේ. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ මේ agricultural crops ටික ඔක්කොම ටික ඉවරයි. ඒකට ගහනවා ගස් සෙට් එකක්. ගැව්වාන් පස්සේ ගහේ වැදලා හුලං එන්නේ නැහැ එතකොට. ඒකට කියන wind breaks කියලා. Wind breaks එහෙම හදනවා. Right. Coniferous forests. Although natural coniferous forests are found in temperate countries, there are also man-made coniferous forests in Sri Lanka. The pine forests in Sri Lanka are example of coniferous forests. Right? Pine තමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් coniferous විදියට ඒක මේ අපේ එකක් නෙමෙයි. පිටින් එන අපේ එකක්. Attempts to cultivate native plants in degraded lands in Sri Lanka have failed. Since then, pine trees which were identified as a species that grow well in such lands have been successfully cultivated in those lands. Right? The specialty of pine trees in that they can be easily cultivated even barren lands, have a high growth rate, are less susceptible to pests and parasites, and can be successfully cultivated in areas where there is room for afforestation. Afforestation තියෙන areas වල මේක ලේසියෙන් වවන්න පුළුවන්. Highlight the key features that the pine trees have. Can be cultivated even in barren lands, high growth rate, less susceptible to pests, pests ලට එහෙම වැඩි මේ වෙන්නේ, and parasites. Afforestation areas වල cultivate කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right. Furthermore, since it makes many years for natural forests in degraded areas to regenerate through the secondary succession process, pine cultivation is important to minimize the problems caused by the soil being exposed until then. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ලේසියෙන් ගස් හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ. ඉතින් එතකන් pine මේ grow කරන එක ලේසි. Therefore, to prevent excessive soil erosion in the upper Mahaveli watershed, pine plantation were established in large numbers in the 1980s. There are also numerous economic benefits that can be derived from the pine trees, right? These are the economic values that can obtain through the the pine. The obtaining timber, obtaining seasoned wood, highlight this, obtaining pulp with the required fiber length for the paper industry. And due to the technical problem, pine fiber is not currently used in paper industry, right? And obtaining the resins, like they have resins like a gum, like a thing.
Season wood
Hmm?
quality wood. Season wood.
Oh, season wood කියන්නේ අපි කියන්නේ අර අන්න නේ ඒ කියන්නේ අර අපි කියන්නේ සීසන් කියන්නේ මේ පදම් කරයි කියලා කියන්නේ දව පදම් කරනවා කියන්නේ ඔව් ඒ right. Then however, objections have arisen against the pine cultivation due to the several problems arising from the pine cultivation. මොනවාද? Excessive groundwater absorption by the pine plants. ඒගොල්ලෝ වතුර absorb කරනවා වැඩි. Then the pine leaves take a long time to decompose naturally. නේ මේගොල්ලෝ decompose වෙන naturally ලොකු කාලයක් ගන්නවා. Then this causes obstacles to under cultivation and soil infertile, right? Currently, teak, eucalyptus species, mahogany and kaya are the most commonly used trees for timber production in Sri Lanka. The native plants are grown in forests established for environmental conservation. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් සාමාන්‍ය eucalyptus, mahogany and kaya are the most commonly used trees for timber production. ඒ කියන්නේ දව වලට ගන්න ඕනව තමයි. ඒකත් highlight කරලා තියන්න කමන්නේ. කියන්නේ දැන් pine හදන්නේ pine වෙනකොට මෙන්න මේ plant species තමයි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Right. Forestry for timber production. Forest plantation established to meet the timber demands in Sri Lanka are called timber production forest. Example of this include teak plantations in the dry zone, pine and eucalyptus plantation in Kandy, Badulla, Nuwara Galle and Matale. Mahogany plantation established in the intermediate zone of Sri Lanka are also included in this category. Forest plantations located in environmentally sensitive areas are not managed for timber production. These trees are not felled either, right? මේවා කපන්නෙත් නැහැ. So study conducted in 2006 revealed that the annual timber requirement of Sri Lanka is about 1.24 million cubic meters per year. The 1996 sector master plan predicted that the timber requirement would be about 2 million cubic meters by 2020. About 42% of this requirement is met by homesteads. The contribution from the forestry is about 11%. About 10% of the total timber requirement is imported. Coconut and rubber are other sources of timber. Since the size of homesteads, which contribute to the large amount of timber production, is decreasing with the population growth, the amount of wood produced from homestead is likely to decrease in the future. අර homestead කියන්නේ ඉස්සර නම් තිබ්බා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔය දැන් ඉස්සර ගෙවල් වල අර දෑවැද්දට ඕන කරන්නේ ඔක්කොම ගෙදර ගස් තමයි කපන්නේ. කපලා ඔක්කොම ටික හදලා තමයි දෙන්නේ. ඔව්. ඒ කියන්නේ ඉච්චරට ඒ වතු වල ගස් තිබිලා තියෙනවා. සහ ලොකු වතු තිබිලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වතු ලොකුයි එතකොට. ඉස්සර මිනිස්සුන්ගේ වතු ලොකුයි. දැන් එහෙම නේ. දැන් වෙනකොට ඒවා පොඩි 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 කැලි වලට කැඩලා අර හෝම් ස්ටේට් කියන එක දැන් නෑ. නේ. එහෙම එකක් නෑ දැන්. Right. So the amount of wood produced from the homestead is likely to decrease in the future. Therefore, it is necessary to increase the amount of managed forests. Right. For timber production, right. Here, suitable species are used for timber. In timber production forest, timber is felled and planted and then felled again after the plantation mature. However, the mahogany plantation do not completely remove the trees, but rather selectively remove some of them and allow them to grow naturally. ඔක්කොම ටික අයින් කරන්නේ නැහැ mahogany වැව්වාම. කීපයක් විතර තියන්න ඕන. හරි. In the selection of species, the important factors are that the plants are suitable for the timber industry. The growth rate of these plants should be high and the plants should grow large. Characteristics such as having a straight trunk and ability to grow in harsh environments are also important. Characteristics such as resistance to disease and pest are also taken into account. The plants that grow well in the early stages of the succession are the indigenous plants. මෙන්න මේ indigenous plants සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මුල් හරි වැවෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ. And the teak, mahogany, eucalyptus, pines are such exotic plant species. එහෙම මුලදී වවන්න පුළුවන් exotic plant species තමයි මේ ටික mahogany, eucalyptus, pines and such trees. Plants like kenda and myler are not kenda, it's kanda, right? Kanda and myler are not suitable for timber production, while plants that grow in the early stages of growth cycle such as teak, eucalyptus are suitable for timber production. Therefore, those species are used in afforestation for timber production. Plants like for timber production. Now, the plants like Hulmilla and Pericopis mooniana have shown success as local plants suitable for timber production. And although their timber value is high, their slow growth rate is problematic. It is highlight ka. Timber value එක high හැබැයි growth rate එක slow. A local species, the horror, shows good growth under the above conditions, but its timber value is low. සාමාන්‍ය මෙහි තියෙන species වල තියෙන එකක් තමයි timber value එක අඩුයි, අනිත් එක තමයි growth එක slow. Right, come to the forest for firewood production. The annual requirement of firewood in Sri Lanka is about 2 million cubic meters. There is a huge demand for firewood as an energy source. However, there is very little for forest plantation in Sri Lanka for firewood. Most of the time, it is byproducts and waste products of wood production as well as part obtained from home gardens that are used for this purpose. You can firewood වලට ගන්න ගොඩක් අර ගන්න ඒ බෑ wood එකේ waste එකයි ඊට පස්සේ අර ගෙදර තියෙන homestead plants වලින් ගන්න ඒවායි තමයි. Therefore, the cultivation of plants for firewood has been identified as an essential task to meet the increasing firewood needs. Firewood is needed as a source of energy for the tea industry, coconut-based industries and textile-based industries as well as for household use. Plants suitable for firewood include eucalyptus, Camaldonensis, Acacia, Gliricidia and Leucaena. Right. In firewood production, straight or thick trunks are not required and it is important to be able to harvest firewood with low densities, right, by felling some plants. The remaining trunk produces very good quality shoots. The shoots that grow well are managed well, and after those shoots grow well, they can be used again as firewood. This is known as shoot management. කියන්නේ shoot එක තමයි වවන්නේ. shoot එක වවනවා ඊට පස්සේ ගහ වෙනවා ආපහු shoot එක අරගෙන ආපහු වවනවා එහෙමයක් කියන්නේ. So it's called shoot shoot management කියලා තමයි ඒකට කියන්නේ. By managing shoot, it is possible to obtain firewood from continuous forest cultivation without planting new plants. shoot එක අරගෙන කපනවා වවනවා එහෙමයක් තියෙනවා. Furthermore, bamboo plants have also been identified as suitable plant for firewood production. Bamboo එකත් ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා කියන firewood විදියට. ගිනි ගන්න ඕනේ. Characteristics of plants suitable for firewood. Aneti highlight and high caloric value, high growth rate, able to cut trees in the short time, sprouts well from the trunk after cutting down trees, being able to grow in a harsh environment. Right. FBI open up. What's this? FBI open up. What is this? Johan. Ah. Right. Then comes the forestry for conservation. Afforestation is carried out for water conservation, soil protection, coastal conservation and river bank conservation. It highlight ka. Forestation is carried out for water conservation, soil protection, coastal conservation, river bank conservations. In the past, the plant species used for this purpose were exotic plants such as eucalyptus, pine and kaya. Accordingly, the established afforestation can be seen in areas such as Ohio and Patipol. Although bamboos can be grown to protect river banks from erosion, if bamboo bushes are not properly managed, they grow excessively and can become overgrown, causing great damage during heavy rains. Such bamboo plants can yield a good result if managed properly. Bamboo ekat වාන පුළුවන් එක. Then come to the windbreak forests. Right. So the windbreak forestation is a practice of planting trees in row perpendicular to the direction of the wind. It helps to reduce the impact of strong winds on agricultural crops and other plantation crops. Right. एक highlight करा. In mountain areas, right? Characteristics of plants suitable for water and soil conservation. Come to these points. Able to grow under adverse soil conditions. Being able to create a good canopy. Being able to provide good cover through plant leaves. No interference with the establishment of undergrowth and natural regeneration. Minimizing the yes, completely on. Minimizing damage from the wildfire, not causing damage to the natural ecosystem. Yeah, I think hitala ගන්න පුළුවන් නේද? තුනක් විතර මතක තියාගන්න. That's enough. Then the importance of the forests. Contribute to maintaining the carbon dioxide and O2 balance in the atmosphere, cooling the environment, creating micro meteorological conditions and contributing to the formation of local rainfalls. Right. Soil and water conservation, providing habitat for pollinators and seeds and fruit dispersal agents, contributing to natural beauty and ecotourism, providing habitat for living things, protecting endemic species, acting as a windbreak, supply of medicines, food and firewood and etc. Right. Acting as a repository of genetic resources, preservation of places of cultural and historical significance. Are they right? In addition to these, man-made forests also play a special role. They highlight them, contributing to the preservation of natural forests. This controls the destruction of natural forests for human timber and firewood needs, and can be cultivated in barren lands. Plants like pines have the ability to grow in barren lands by digging through rocks to find soil and withstand natural hazards. Then casuarina can also be grown in sandy oils. Casuarina is one of the plants. Strengthening the rational economy through wood products. Right? So, like the majority are to, at least slightly remember, because mainly they will be MCQs. Common factors. MCQs? Structured එකට ඔයගේ වහන්නේ නෑ ස්ට්‍රක්චර්ඩ් එකට තමයි ස්ට්‍රක්චර්ඩ් එකේ ඔය කැනපි ලේයර්ස් වල වගේ වගේ මාන්න පුළුවන් ඊට පස්සේ අර චූටි ප්‍රශ්න තමයි ගොඩක් අහන්නේ
ගොඩක් දුරට හයි මයික්‍රෝබයොලොජි ගන්න කියන්නේ මේකේ ඇනිමල් එක
right. The evolution of forest conservation in Sri Lanka. Although it is necessary to have forest cover of about 30% of the total land area in any country in the world, especially in a tropical country, maintaining it remains a challenge due to the socio-economic needs of various countries. Therefore, it is scientifically believed that maintaining a forest cover at least 25% is essential when all factors are taken into account. However, due to development measures taken to meet the needs of the increasing population, the forest cover in Sri Lanka is decreasing, right? So, recent trends in forest resource development and management, you just go through these and voila, that's it. Oh.
MCQ එක බෙදෙන්නේ නැහැ නේද? 50 එහෙම වදිනවනේ CQ.
ඔව්. අර අපි මුලින් කතා කරපු මේ forest set එක තියෙන්නේ. evergreen forest එකයි mountain forest ඒ ටික තියෙනවනේ. ඒ ටිකේ නෑ examples නම් ඇහුවොතින් that is the අමාරුම question that can ask.
ජීවිතේට අහන්න බෑ මාරු receptive එකේ රෙදි.
ඔව් ඒ කියන්නේ එහෙම plants අහන එක ටිකක් ඔව්. අර unique features තියෙනවනේ. unique features තියෙනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ canopy තියෙනවද නැද්ද? ඊට පස්සේ අර trunk එක අර අපි කතා කරේ ඇඹරිලා තියෙනවයි කියලා.
බයෝ වලින් නිකන් ගත්තොත් එහෙනම් MCQ කීයක් විතර හරි MCQ වල ගත්තොත්
10.
10. full bio ඔක්කොම.
ඒ 10 නොත් කීප එකට තමයි ඉතින් forest එන්නේ. structure
තහන්නේ අර තියෙන තමයි මයිකි වලදී ගන්නේ.
දැනට අහලා තියෙන ඒවා. Yeah. Right.
structured එක AC එකයි වෙන්නේ කොහොමද?
ඒක ඉතින් 15 marks දෙනවනේ.
15 marks 4යි. අරකින්
100 150 ඒවා 4යි.
150 ඒවා 4යි.
Yes. That's 1000. 1000. Missing. Panahan? Arekin panah දෙනවා. Buhaha. So that's the end of the bio. Yep.
term test paper
දෙන්න.
දෙන්න නෑ වෙනම එපා කියන දේ දෙන්න
වෙනම.
දෙන්න මම කරන්න 1000 විතර හැටි ඇයි ඒක උගාරන්න නැද්ද
Kalura. Kalura, okay. Yan. Bro, so it's the end of the biology lessons. So no more biology.
ඊළඟ Thursday paper last week.
Yes. A study. And api game gam. People are texting so much. I don't know why. අර වීඩියෝ එකට සුපිරි ඉගැන්වීම කියලා දාලා ඊයේ දාපු එක ඒ සමහර මගේ ටීචර්ස්ලා මගේ මේ කොලීග්ස්ලා සුපිරි ඉගැන්වීමක් කියලා ඊයේ දා තිබ්බර බෙන්ඩ් එක ගන්න එක
ඒකේ quality අඩු වෙන නිසා අරගේ වීඩියෝ එකේම නම් හොඳට quality තිබ්බා.
ඒ ෆෝන් එකෙන්
ඒ girl ඉතින් දෙකම ගත්තේ මේකෙන්.
නෑ.
දැන් මගේ එකේ girl ගේ වීඩියෝ එක දෙකම ගත්තේ 15 එකෙන්.
ඔව්.
මගේ වීඩියෝ එක බලන්න quality අඩු. මගේ එකට වැඩි මෑන්ගේ ඉතින් වීඩියෝ quality එක තියෙනවා.
ඒ ලයිට්ස් එහෙනම්
හරි.
එයාගේ ගානට ලයිට්ස් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා
මේ මෙලා තියෙනවා.
ඔයාගේ කීයද
මෙයාගේ
එකම ෆෝන් එකේ නේද ගත්තේ ඔය දෙන්නගේ
මෙතන ගාත තැනත් එක්ක අර
Lights.
focus වෙන එකයි ඒකයි.
එහෙම තමයි අපි පොඩි ඩිස්ටන්ස් එක තියලානේ ඔයාගේ ගත්තේ මෙයාගේ කිලින්ම ගත්තානේ
බලන්න. අරකට ෆෝස් එකකට කරමු වීඩියෝ.
ගා
මං කිව්වේ මේ ඒකට මේ මොකටද ඉන්නේ? එක්කෙනෙක් ප්‍රශ්නයක් කරගෙන ඉන්නවා. එවිලා ෆෝස්